Hi, welcome to Go, my favorite sports team. It's time, once again, to wonder why the hell I'm in a different place than I usually am. I can't find my car keys. They're gone. They're missing. They're just gone. Don't know why.
They just disappeared, vanished off the face of the earth.
Yeah, pretty much. I've looked really hard this time. It wasn't in the laundry. It wasn't in any other pair of pants that I had. It's just gone, and my extra key is not with me right now. But anyway, that's not why we're here. Shut up. We're here to talk about sports. I'm here joined by Tyler.
That's me. We got my gmfst t-shirt on for everybody, too.
I got my Wisconsin shirt on. It's got a bunch of cheeses on it.
You got a bunch of cheese?
Yes.
Well, that totally doesn't play into any of the news I have today, so.
No, that's okay. We don't need them.
We don't need them. We don't need Wisconsin. We don't need cheese.
I never thought we needed Wisconsin, but, you never really know.
Wisconsin is like the dairy capital, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's why they like their cheese. I think they're also the drinking capital, but that's a whole different thing.
Actually, California is the largest milk-producing state, even though Wisconsin is known as the dairy state.
I see. Probably just by size, but there are a lot of farms out here. I would think that I guess Texas just raises them to eat them. But,
yeah, they might be the state capital. Hold on. Miami is apparently for eating it the state capital. Texas, beef capital of the world, is Hereford, Texas.
Oh, yeah. No, I figured
Hereford.
that. Well, anyway, again, not why we're here.
No.
Yes, we're here to talk about sports.
We're here to talk about sports.
Wait a minute. There's a Jacuzzi here that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they're coming at to you after you didn't say anything, right?
No. Well, I don't know. There's a Jacuzzi from Abdadu that says, "What about the women?" I write to you today with deep disappointment. In your most recent episode, It's Playoff Time, you covered current news in sports, namely the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship, but I am left wondering, what about the women? As a UConn alumna myself, I was deeply disappointed to hear no mention of my beloved Huskies and their visit in the NCAA Women's Basketball Champion. Paige Buchers, didn't I?
It's
Literally?
in the episode that airs this week.
Oh,
so, because... people are impatient because we were talking about NBA basketball and the men's final had finished. The women's final, I don't know if had finished at the same time as the men's. So
no, they didn't, because otherwise I would have read the news. And I read it the very next week. It's just so we're not doing this live, everyone.
Yeah, so we did talk about it. We talked about Paige Buchers. We talked about UConn. They just haven't heard it yet, but by the time this episode airs, they would have heard it.
Boy, you're going to be embarrassed, aren't you? You're listening to this with shame, aren't you?
You can cry into your cereal bowl at breakfast after listening to the podcast.
That's what people do first thing in the morning? That's too much sports.
I kind of do. I check the sports scores every week.
Good day, fellas, says Smackable. I just listened to the episode It's Playoff Time and heard Mark talking about IPL. I thought the master of balls and holes would explain more about cricket, but he didn't. You pronounced the name of team and state wrong. IPL, Indian Premier League, is like the NFL for us. The match Mark was talking about was between states Punjab and Chennai, which is pronounced Pun. Okay, this isn't helpful, this pronunciation. P-U-H-N. I would pronounce that Pun.
I would too.
Pun, as in the word pun. You don't phonetic it P-U-H-N, and jab, as in boxing jab. That's fair, but is that the only error I had? Look, I'm bringing up international sports. I don't know what the hell I'm saying, but I'm saying it. Why are you getting mad? I'm never, ever gonna talk about Indian cricket ever again on this podcast. Ever!
They're upset because I didn't understand all of the numbers that you were referring to, because there were a lot.
No. They're mad at my pronunciation, and you know what? Oh, they pronounced it correctly. There's a comment here from Thomas Cathu. They pronounced it correct. I probably mispronounced her name. That's how native English speakers are taught to pronounce it. You're explaining how to pronounce it in a terrible way. Punch-ab is a much better... That's not a better way. That's not a better way. Punch-ab.
The classic pronunciation jacuzzas are back, yeah.
Yeah.
There were actually a few other jacuzzas that I switched to episode suggestions because they were yelling about us not talking about something else, and it's like, that's an episode suggestion, not a jacuzzi.
Expect Americans to understand anything that isn't American related. Yeah, nah. I'm trying to.
We literally have a cricket primer, and it was years ago.
I guess we shouldn't even try anymore. Ugh. My God. Ugh.
Oh, people also got mad at us talking about international football, and there was a J'Accuse being like, I can't believe you guys haven't talked about football and this particular highlight and this particular thing. And I'm like, it's soccer, and we did a soccer primer, and we're not going to go through and look at every single relevant video of highlights of something.
I tried to.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. But now we actually get into the real news, and it'll be news that'll be slightly delayed for everyone else, so we might not get to it.
Do you want me to lead off with the news, or you got?
Yeah, sure. One? What do you got? I got
all right. The New York Yankees kicked off the season with an insane outing and performance, thanks in part to their brand new bat, the torpedo bat. Now, Mark, if you think of what a torpedo bat might look like, what would you say it looks like?
Bat for the underwater version of baseball. If there's underwater hockey and that's legitimate enough to have a entire primer about it, then I can only assume that there's underwater baseball and it's legitimate as hockey is.
That's a torpedo bat, Mark.
That's a bowling pin.
Yes. So basically, the whole premise of this specifically designed bat that is considered to be new technology, it's not new.
Right.
There were torpedo bats like this in the past. Is they basically, one, they moved the weight away from the top end of the bat and tried to fatten the area, which is considered the sweet spot of the bat. So you have a larger sweet spot to be able to hit the ball. Now, the thing that this does is it actually makes the bat have the higher chance of higher bat speed and opens up that sweet spot zone so that you have a little bit more wiggle room to hit that sweet spot when you're swinging. The problem is it makes it a little bit harder to hit away pitches, like pitches that are further outside and away from you on the far side of the plate, because you can't really poke at them, but it does make it so the power hitting, you have a larger sweet spot. When you do make contact, you're going to hit the ball harder and out of the park more regularly. Now, this bat is great for power hitting. It's not exactly something that I would consider the best for contact hitting. Because contact hitting, a lot of people, it's like sticking your bat out and you want to just put the ball in play. The Yankees have a ton of power hitters, Aaron Judge being one of the top ones. And so they figured they'd try out this new bat. And so far, it started making its rounds around Major League Baseball. More and more people are starting to use this style of bat.
Are they allowed to use it?
Yes. By the rules and the definitions in how a bat can be, it technically fits into the qualifications of a legal bat. That is now, of course, can be debated, but it is considered to be a legal bat.
I would have thought that they would have just had one bat that they standardized. Just like with baseballs, they have one creator of baseballs made from the same material, the same mud, the same leather, right? And then stitched all by hand. So I would have thought that they would have done the same with the bats.
The thing is, there's a lot of similarities in how they limit it, but they allow individualization because there's different lengths of the bat, barrel sizes, stuff like that. So MLB bat rules primarily focus on the size and the shape of the bat. You can't hollow them out and cork them because that's an illegal thing. But they must be smooth, round, and cannot exceed 2.61 inches in diameter or 42 inches in length. And it must be a single piece of solid wood with no laminations or experimental designs allowed unless approved by the Rules Committee. One could argue this is an experimental design that maybe wasn't approved by the Rules Committee, but maybe it was. I don't know that exact detail. But those are basically the limitations. The handle can only be covered or treated with material or substances to improve grip and cannot exceed 18 inches from the end of the bat. Colored bats aren't allowed unless approved by the Rules Committee and a few other things as well. And indentation is apparently permitted at the end of the bat up to only 1 inch deep and no wider than 2 inches.
Okay, all right. I mean, that all seems fine, I guess, but I feel like if someone walks in with that bat and they're getting more hits, everyone else is going to be like, hey, wait a minute. What the fuck?
that being said, I'm going to share this with you. This is the basic showing like how the bat is made, but it's not new at all. Like there was a version in the 90s, so much so that there was even an aluminum bat created by Easton back when we were kiddos.
What?
Back when we were young,
Kiddos.
And unafraid.
When we were young. Yeah.
But it was a much more steep, like.
Oh yeah, that's kind of crazy.
It's very old, but it's not a new concept. So a lot of people were like, "This is new technology. This is amazing." So it was all over the news, but really they were lying because it wasn't new.
Why does it need new technology? It's a bat. Like, if they wanted it to be easier to hit things, why not just flatten out the bat, make it wider, all the hitting surface is huge, and then they'll put knee pads on and shin pads, and then they'll start calling them wickets, and they'll get their long, silly, long, silly, long, and then we'd all be playing that sport I can't mention anymore because I hate it.
Fair.
Fair, very fair.
Yeah, it's fair. But
you know what I hate specifically? The Indian Premier League. And that's not racism. That's not. I can have my preferences. And I just think that they're all a bunch of losers.
Who attack people for no reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, this bat has started to make the rounds. More and more hitters are starting to use it. It's a new thing in Major League Baseball as an experiment. And it has shown some promise. People, I think, got overzealous because of how well the Yankees hit in their first series with a slew of home runs. It doesn't necessarily statistically make batting better. It doesn't make you better as a batter, but it does widen that sweet spot for power hitting.
All right. Well, that's interesting. Anyway, in Indian Premier League news... I'm just getting this out of the way so that we can move on to the better news, right? The Indian Premier League, the world's biggest T20 cricket league, is in full swing, drawing enormous global engagement from people that want to watch a bad team play. Am I right? This past week saw several nail-bite yawners, real yawners, including a clash where Shubman Gill's batting masterclass powered the Gujarat Titans to a 39-run win over the Kolkata Knight Riders, keeping Gujarat on the top of the table. In another highlight, Lucknow supergiant skipper... This is fake. An AI wrote this. Lucknow supergiant skipper KL Rahul guided his team to a tense victory over the former franchise, the Delhi Capitals, in a last-over finish. What did I just read? Stadiums across India are packed with fans, and TV viewership in cricket-loving nations is soaring into the hundreds of millions for marquee matches. More like hundreds of hundreds. Am I right? Boring. Anyway, the IPL's mix of world-class talent from India's Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma to overseas stars like Joe's Butler and Rashid Khan has produced towering sixes, hat-trick wickets, and super overdramas in recent days. As the tournament approaches this playoff race, the combination of on-field excitement and off-field pageantry, music, fireworks, celebrity team owners continues to make the IPL a truly global sporting snore fest. Anyway, I hope that this is like learning a language with exposure, where the more I read this stuff and my subconscious will glean the context with which it's said, and then somehow, whatever the hell they said in this towering sixes, hat trick wickets, and super over dramas, I'll understand what it means.
Well, the winning in an over, the last over, means that there were only 6 bowls left and the game was probably tied, or the match was tied. And so he hit either a sixer or scored enough runs in the last over, the last 6 pitches, or bowls as they call them in cricket, to then score the winning run. It came down to the final over of the match. Then the other stuff, sixes are like home runs. You hit it out of the area on a fly, so it's the most runs you can score on one hit. Hat trick wickets, I believe, is like strikeouts, like 3 strikeouts in a row. If I were to compare it to Major League Baseball, yeah.
Sure.
Because the wicket is like striking the wicket and getting people out. So I imagine a hat trick is one player did it 3 times.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
All right, more technology, Mark.
Okay.
Ready for the exciting improvements to the NFL game?
Usually when they have these, it's no one's happy.
The NFL announced that they're going to be using a system of 6 8K cameras to track the position of the ball on the field. Though the current tracking system will remain in place as a backup, a.k.a. the eyes of the ref and the chain gang, these cameras will be used to determine if a team gets a first down, therefore making sure that when Josh Allen does his quarterback sneak and he gets there, people are going to know for sure that it was a first down and not debated for all eternity that allowed the Chiefs to make the Super Bowl.
They call it a quarterback because it's just damn adorable.
It's because it's Josh Allen and he's dating Haley Steinfeld, but we won't get into that because you don't want to hear about dating
any of these people.
Haley's an actress, and she's in the new movie Sinners, which is a blockbuster hit with Michael B. Jordan in it, and it's directed by probably the most prominent director of our time lately.
Me? I don't remember directing this.
But the Hawkeye is already used in other sports like tennis. It's how they do the, you ever see that 3D replay in tennis?
Yeah.
It's basically that system that's being implemented now into the NFL, where cameras are able to track the ball and aid the officials in their calls.
I see. Okay.
Hopefully it doesn't slow down the game and make more for TV timeouts for instant replay. But
which still blows my mind. I got one. I got plenty, actually.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so the NFL draft is occurring right now, apparently, and is that a multi-day event?
It is a multi-day event. The first day is only the first round. The second day is the second and third, and then the third day, I believe, is the rest through round 7.
Is it consecutive?
Consecutive days, yeah. Is
it all broadcast on TV?
Yes, it is.
Do they take commercial timeouts for it?
Yes, they do.
God damn, it's another show, isn't it? All right. Anyway, that's why would it take 3 days otherwise? All right. Anticipation is peaking for the NFL draft set for next week. That's what it is. The quarterbacks dominate the conversation. Draft analysts report the Miami's Cameron Ward and Colorado's Shedeur Sanders are among the top prospects vying for the number 1 overall pick. In fact, many projections have the QB-needy Tennessee Titans selecting Ward first, with Sanders close behind as a potential top 5 pick. Teams across the league are jockeying for position to land a franchise signal caller. ESPN's Adam Schefter noted there's, quote, no true consensus on where these QBs will land, fueling intrigue heading into draft night. Class also features Ole Miss's Jackson Dart and Alabama's Jalen Milroe, making this one of the most talked about QB groups in recent years. With trades and surprise moves possible, NFL offseason spotlight is firmly on the draft and its upcoming young stars.
In fact, it is 2 days from today that the draft occurs, this Thursday at the time of recording.
It will already have happened by the time people hear this.
Yes. And it is Thursday, April 24th through Saturday, April 26th. So it is a 3-day event. All right, Mark. More things in college sports.
Okay.
Can you imagine you're a coach of a college basketball team? You're excited. You just had a successful season. You're at one of the most sought-after schools in all of basketball with a history of tradition and winning.
Men's or women's?
Men's. The Indiana Hoosiers. Mike Woodson, or Mark Fishbach, the current coach of the Hoosiers, isn't returning next season, and all the current players are graduating or entering the transfer portal. So as your new coach, he's being replaced by Darian DeVries next season, who will have to rebuild the team completely from scratch. They have absolutely 0 players on their roster due to the transfer portal with nil and people graduating. This is a first in college sports history that I know of. In an interview with NPR, Zach Osterman, who covers Indiana University athletics for the Indianapolis Star, talked about why this clean slate situation may have happened. The transfer portal started a few years ago. It's a mechanism to be able to just track transfers a little bit more closely. Streamline the process. Someone somewhat as the practice of transferring, started to really sort of tick up across all sports. I think that's happened, especially when it's sort of coupled with the idea of athlete compensation through name, image, and likeness rules. The portal has really, I think, become sort of an inextricably linked to the idea of athlete agency, like free agency in pro sports. It has also become a sort of shorthand just for the era that college athletics is in right now. Athletes in most cases being more comfortable transferring from one school to another, and in many cases, I think looking or at least wanting to examine their market value to see if there's not more money available to them. Basically, it's reverting back to the way college sports were before the NCAA stepped in. And that's because now universities are able to coerce players to attend using name, image, and likeness brands through partnerships with other businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Before the NCAA was founded, players could literally just get paid to play 1 week as this team. All of a sudden, they get paid more and offer better benefits. They'd switch and possibly be playing against the team they just played for from week to week.
So we've talked about this before, where name, image, and likeness and the complications thereof, and also maybe necessities thereof. Is this like a natural result of this, spilling out into more and more things?
I think so. I think one of the biggest issues that occurs within college athletics is it has no longer become about student athletes. I mean, you've got games that are focused on making money in television by you're playing during the school week. You have optional practices, which are perceived mandatory because the coach would probably bench you if you didn't show up to the optional ones. So you're taking away from the studies of it to where this is becoming closer and closer to a professional sport, to the point to where there are college athletes that make more on nil deals than professional athletes make on their contracts.
Fascinating. Because I would imagine the players in, say, the NFL, the majority of their income does come from just the contracts with the team that they're a part of. And those that get brand deals and like sponsorships are really just the top echelon. I guess it would be the same for college, but So is it comparing the top potential earning of college versus the lowest potential earning of NFL, which would be the range?
I think it's comparing mostly to the mid-range, not because I think it's not comparing to the top end. I think it's comparing to the low end mid-range, but there are definitely enough college athletes, especially coming in as rookies, because there are limitations to how much you can make on a initial contract in the NFL, that some people will be like, well, I'm making more money in college sports, so I'm going to stay in college sports, which is kind of nice, but it's also a little bit backwards. I think I had to solve for the issue of pay for play and the nil deal and stuff years ago. And I could get into it, but it'd take a whole episode and not that many people would actually care. But it was basically making it so that the NCAA gave guaranteed educational scholarships for the term of the education. They would allow students the rights to their name, image, and likeness in the same way that other students get it. And then you would eliminate the optional practices, you would limit the amount of practice time, and you would force games to only occur on weekends when there are no classes going on.
Gotcha. All right, interesting. I have a story that I was looking at. Can I go get my laptop? I hate not having my laptop now.
Yeah, go for it.
I can get it better. There. 1 second. I'll be right back.
Watch, guys. He's going to find his keys. They've been in his laptop the whole time. Also, how many of you out there have lost your keys? Because I've misplaced them. I've definitely not fully lost them, but I've definitely had a hard time finding them. And I'm sure Mark could find them eventually. I think they'll turn up. It's just probably buried somewhere he didn't expect. Why is it that I remember so many obscure facts, but I can't remember where I put my shoes? Oh, hey, Mark.
What happened?
I was talking about how it's weird how we remember some things and forget other things.
Oh, what did I forget?
Your keys, where they are.
They just disappear. I don't know what the deal is with that.
Well, I was talking about how I can remember deep memories from school and other things that are obscure facts, but I can't remember a name that was just told to me, It's wild how the brain works, how there's it's almost like you have blind spots for certain things.
Of course, yeah. Names fall out, but directions stick really hard. I don't know why. It just has to do with what we were really unconsciously drawn towards when we were infants and children.
Yeah, I cared more about how people treated me, not what their name was.
Interesting. Why was that?
I was a mean kid, I guess. I don't know.
Interesting. Yes.
I actually recently discovered something about myself, but I need to find a therapist again to actually talk through it. But why I am the way that I am, and it involves the fact that I had a lot of times when I felt like I was trying to rely on somebody, they didn't come through for me, so it made me be super independent and want to do everything myself.
Interesting. I am super independent and do everything myself because I never even consider the idea of anyone else doing it, and I want to do it all myself.
Fair.
Hold on. I've got NHL news. I'm hot off the presses here.
Is it about Ovechkin breaking the record? Is it about the playoffs happening right now?
No, we talked about that. Yes, it's about the playoffs. It is the where to go. Washington Capitals legend Alex Ovechkin added another milestone to his storied career, scoring his first ever playoff overtime goal to lift the Caps to a Game 1 victory, which is strange because he just set the record for most goals, right?
Yeah, you want to know what's even crazier about the most goals?
What?
He broke the record in the same number of games that Wayne Gretzky set the record previously.
Interesting.
So, like, it's crazy how exact it was.
Yeah, in his 152nd postseason game, the 39-year-old Ovechkin found the net in overtime to give Washington a 3-2 win over the Montreal Canadiens.
I smacked on the Canadians. Got him.
Wait, this article is very strange. Is the Montreal? I know they're Canadian in Montreal, but don't they have a mascot? The Montreal Canadiens. I don't think that's right. And a 1-0 series lead. The clutch.
No, it's the Montreal Canadiens. That's their name.
Is it?
Yeah.
Man, here I am making fun of them. I'm like, I thought it was like the Maple Leafs or something like that.
No, that's Toronto.
Toronto. Oh, right. Okay. All right. Well, it's the Montreal Canadiens. In a 1-0 series lead, the clutch goal comes in a season where Ovechkin has already made history. He surpassed Wayne Gretzky's by hitting 197 goals during the regular season. Teammates marveled at Ovi's enduring brilliance, calling him, is that his nickname or something, Ovi? Calling him the best player in the world as he continues to deliver in big moments. The Caps captain, now hockey's greatest goal scorer, showed he can still come in clutch in pursuit of another Stanley Cup run. Hope he doesn't lose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he might not.
I'm actually rooting. Actually, you know what? The teams I'm rooting for making it to the final is the Caps because of Ovechkin beating the record. But from the other side, I picked a team when I was in call with some of the people who listen to the podcast on the Discord. I didn't want Colorado. I think I wanted the LA Kings. But hard to say. Kings versus Capitals.
Okay. I can't even imagine what that team would be. Sacramento.
Los Angeles Kings. It's hockey.
Oh, right. Hockey. Right. We were talking about hockey, so obviously we'd still be talking about hockey.
Yeah.
In one ear, out the other. Am I right?
But now it's time for us to talk about a 9-hole golf course that was made for under $250K by a Redditor.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I suppose.
Right.
I don't know how much a normal golf course costs, so I wouldn't know if this is a big amount. Why?
It just does.
Why?
Because usually the architect who designs the golf course wants a shit ton of money. Then there's a lot of moving of the land, clearing of trees, putting in the water systems for irrigation, the amount of the different types of grass you need to do, then the mowing and shaping of everything. It's apparently really expensive.
Okay.
But this isn't a news story, but it's interesting. Apparently on March 30th of 2024, Maxwell Rolls posted on Reddit about designing and building a golf course with no experience at a resort in Michigan. And it looks like the Redditor is one of the owners of this resort, based on the article about plans to create the course, but he did it for under $250,000. Now, golf courses, average cost to build a golf course. Now, this is only a 9-hole course, to be clear. Usually it's about $3 million and costs nearly $500,000 to maintain annually. This was the Heritage Golf Course in Harrisburg, Virginia. Cost them $3 million to build and $500,000 to maintain.
I just looked up. I've never actually known what the cost of a golf club membership would be, and the top answer is $5,000 to $60,000 per year.
Yeah.
Whew. Now, as a man who's paying $3,400 a month in power, I can relate that to that cost, and I do not want to pay that anymore for power that I need to run my render farm. No, I don't want to do that. Why would you spend that much for golf?
But yeah, you can see construction pictures.
Oh,
I mean,
cool.
look at the excavation that they had to do for various different things.
Yeah. So is this a personally funded project, or is this funded by someone else?
I think it was personally funded because they're the part owner of the course. And the big thing about it, too, is keep in mind, most golf courses have multiple pars, and they usually have 18 holes. This is a 9-hole par 3 course, so it's all par 3s. And there's actually been an interesting thing that's gone on in conversation with athletes. Apparently, Ken Griffey Jr., who's one of an all-time greats in baseball, is now a photographer and does some photography for golf. And there was this discussion that I've seen going around on social media, on Instagram Reels and TikTok, about does a hole-in-one count as a hole-in-one on a par 3 course? And as far as I'm concerned, if you hit the ball...
Hole-in-one's a hole-in-one.
A hole-in-one's a hole-in-one. And then they're like, well, it has an asterisk next to it. It's a hole-in-one. If you hit a hole-in-one on a par 3, it's still a hole-in-one. So why would it be an asterisk if you were on a par 3 course?
Isn't a par 3 like still, that's the average of how much any hole would be?
Yeah, I think it's the hole-in-ones per par. There are 6 of them. 6 in professional golf, only 6 hole-in-ones on a par 4.
That is low.
Apparently, there's only been 1 hole-in-one in a PGA Tour history on a par 4. So the majority of hole-in-ones are made on a par 3, period.
Yeah, but they don't count.
It's still a 1 in like 2,500 or something ridiculous chance for a good golfer or a professional golfer. So why would you say the hole-in-one doesn't count as a hole-in-one if you're playing a par 3 course? It's just because you're playing multiple par 3s in a row? That doesn't change the fact that whether you're playing a par 4 or par 5, you just have more opportunities, so the probability increases.
I think that it's just elitism. Yeah, have you heard the whole thing about with like tornado ratings, and you have there haven't been a registered, recognized F5 tornado in about 15 years. And that's because the F rating in tornadoes is not based on like just the size of the tornado or this wind speed. It's based on the ground damage that occurred.
Oh my God.
And that's based on a eyeball judgment of, they look at a house that's blown over, and to get an F5, the house needs to be like wiped clean. There's not even a single thing or something stupid like that. So there's a term for the desire for certain people to subdivide things into different categories, and it's like you keep subdividing down and down and down because people are obsessed with it, and that's what happens. You got a bunch of tornado foamers over here that can't stop categorizing things, and then suddenly nothing's an F5. And then they retroactively remove F5 ratings from certain tornadoes, even though they're unbelievably huge and unbelievably fast. It's also for insurance reasons. Insurances are like, well, we don't want to pay out for F5 level damages. This is clearly an F4. So it's a combination of different things to attack it so that there are no F5 tornadoes anymore, because they're just trying to label it out.
So it's not objective. How it should be. It should be based upon size and wind speed. Because damage, you could argue, if it doesn't follow the correct path and stays in a wide open field and hits maybe one house, it didn't do a lot of damage, so it's not an F5.
Yeah. size, wind speed, and duration. Those should be the qualifiers for tornadoes. How long did it last? How big was it? How fast was it during the entirety of its lifespan? There is a calculus to determine the amount of wind and airflow that occurred in that time, and you go like, gmfst.
Do they do the same thing for hurricanes then?
No, hurricanes are of like a completely different scale and are judged by a completely different organization as well.
Well, sounds like those tornado people are uppity people who have wind constantly blowing in their ass.
Here, I mean, you're not wrong. But the thing is with tornadoes is like it's much easier, weirdly, to know what a hurricane is doing because it's so big. We have satellite imagery that's telling us. With tornadoes, you can't see them from above, so you can't tell what they're doing. Usually, you can't see them from above. It's just on the underside of the clouds. So you need eyewitness or cameras to even see what's going on. And even then, you can't get scale properly. And even Doppler radars aren't perfectly accurate. So you need like on the ground wind, someone holding the wind going, hey! You know, the wind meter.
Yeah.
So anyway, tornado talk. Not important.
All right, it's your turn because we were talking about golf courses and somehow that went to tornadoes.
The playoffs are so underway right now. I don't know when it's actually happening.
Right now, the NHL playoffs?
No, the NBA.
First round. Still the first round.
Okay. So by the time people hear this, it'll probably be going into the second round. Los Angeles Lakers star-studded lineup suffered a shock defeat in their playoff opener.
They got out-physicaled by the physical team.
God damn it. After entering the postseason with high expectations, fueled by a trade of all-star guard Luka Doncic, who we've been talking about for weeks, have not been able to pronounce his name correctly, and the presence of LeBron James, the Lakers, number 3 seed, were blown out 117-95 at home by the underdog Minnesota Timberwolves, the number 6 seed, in game 1. So unleash joy was the team's rallying motto. I don't know why that was. They only unleashed sadness. But Minnesota's Anthony Edwards outshined the Lakers duo, and even a lineup featuring LeBron and Luka couldn't prevent a rout. The loss prompted sharp criticism from the pundits and us, the only pundits that matter in this.
Yep, we're the ultimate pundits.
Exactly. Stephen A. Smith said, calling out the Lakers leader for lackluster start, Los Angeles will need a quick turnaround to avoid a stunning first-round exit after this early wake-up call.
That said, the Clippers won in game 2, tying it up with the Nuggets last night. So it's 1-1 Clippers-Nuggets in a very close game in the first round, followed by a very close game in the second round, or the second game of the series. The first game of the series went to overtime and the Nuggets pulled it off, thanks in huge part to a fantastic play by Russell Westbrook. And the LA Clippers ended up to pull out a victory in regulation by 3 points, 105-102, just yesterday. And the Pistons have expanded their contest against the Knicks by winning their game in game 2, tying the series 1-1. Meanwhile, Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler carried the Golden State Warriors to a first game of the series win over the Houston Rockets, despite having to play in to get into the playoffs. And the Cavs destroyed the Miami Heat, 121-100. Celtics won their game against the Magic, and the Thunder beat the Grizzlies in a shellacking, 131-80.
Mm-hmm. A shellacking.
A shellacking. All right, Mark, it's time for Dodgeball.
Okay.
2025 Dodgeball Championships was nearly entirely Ohio. You had Akron. You had Miami of Ohio. You had Michigan State. And your favorite, the UC Bearcats.
I don't know if they're my favorite.
Miami University and Akron University and University of Cincinnati were all in the Final Four of the College Dodgeball Championship this year, with Miami dodge, duck, dip, dive, dodge, deemed a victory, unfortunately, handing University of Cincinnati their loss. While the game was looking like it would be a UC victory until the last moment, since the game was in overtime and Cincinnati had 4 players to Miami of Ohio's 1. And then Miami team captain Ty Keller caught a ball, getting UC player out and bringing in his own team, and the game quickly switched over with Miami pulling ahead and winning shortly afterwards.
That is something.
And Miami of Ohio won it all after beating UC and handing their defeat. Their first ever national title.
That's crazy. Good for them, I think, maybe.
I think that was the final, actually. It was UC versus Miami of Ohio.
Well, there you have it. That's about all the news I got.
All right, I got one more for you.
Okay.
And this is a feel-good story, and it's a little bit in the past, but it's really cool. During the NCAA tournament, a referee, Roger Ayers, acted like he was cleaning up a wet spot so that a substitute player could enter the game. This player was Liberty guard J.C. Schurer Jr. There was less than a minute in the game, and it allowed for Schurer to have his first ever March Madness appearance. And so it was such a cool moment. Mr. Roger Ayers had been around the Liberty program for a while. For him to be the ref who let me into the game was really cool. Liberty, of course, lost that game and were losing pretty much out of the game by the time this substitution happened. But it gave this player, who I assume was a senior, the opportunity to appear in a March Madness game.
I remember seeing this on Reddit, and I actually went out of my way to understand what was happening because I saw the video, and it just said exactly what you said. Ref stops the game, quote unquote. The way it works in basketball is you can have a player that's ready to sub in, but they can only sub in when there's a stoppage of the game, which is like a standard procedure. And given that there was a minute left, there was no real reason, considering the score discrepancy, for any player to be going crazy, getting fouls, nothing that would have likely stopped the game. It would have just gone back and forth slowly until then. So the ref doing this was really, truly just a gesture to make sure that this player could be in this game. And that was big, and it meant a lot because that means he was in fact in. Even if the team was losing, he can always say he was playing in a March Madness game.
Yeah, and that's not something everybody gets to do, and it's the unfortunate thing, but it's also really cool that somebody would go out of the way to allow that player the opportunity to be like, I got to play in a March Madness game. It's pretty meaningful. It's like I got to play in the state finals in water polo. Nobody can take that away. Whether we won state or not, I would have had that, been able to say that. Or I played college football. The fact that I played post-kidney transplant is also a really cool thing I get to say, because really you shouldn't do that. It's very dangerous. But I convinced my doctor to sign off, and I wore protective equipment. And so having that ability just to be like, that's a memory. It's like some people could call that a core memory, especially when it comes to your sports career. And so it's deeply meaningful, and it's an incredibly kind gesture for the official to take that timeout when otherwise he probably would never have entered that game.
Very cool.
All right. I think that's all the news I got, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, that was pretty much all of the news possible. So I don't think that we can say that we slouched on any of that. Now, what the hell is this sperm thing?
Oh, you want me to talk about it? I was saving
I thought you were building up to that this whole
right.
time.
Officially, sperm racing is now considered a sport, with races taking place under microscopes, and there's even gambling on sperm racers as commentators shoutcast the races. Now, this sport was created to raise awareness about declining male fertility, and the first official race is taking place on the NFL draft day, first draft day, this Thursday, April 25th, in LA, pitting sperm donors from USC and UCLA against each other to determine which college has the fastest sperm.
Which college has the fastest sperm?
Yes, it's USC versus UCLA.
How the hell do they keep track of each sperm?
They dye them, maybe. I don't know.
How? No way. Do they have jerseys? Do they have tiny little?
They put little jerseys on the tail. They tag them. Microscopic tagging.
That's absurd. It's crazy to think that they could keep track of them, given that there are millions and millions. And then what? Do they have people in college just?
Oh, this is a legitimate thing. People are getting
I'm sure.
But apparently they put them in a tube, and it looks like they are dyed. If you can see, there's 2 purple and 1 blue there. They do dye them, and they race them from point A to point B in this track that you can see in the top left under a microscope.
That's absurd. Do they have to get them fresh right before the game?
I imagine in the back room they have the masturbation Olympics that lead into the sperm races.
Yeah, it's all one. It's a multi-day event, just like the draft. You know, you got the draft for the sperm. You gotta make sure. You got
How do they pick who's playing?
Pick. Yeah, well,
you look like
pick.
you haven't had sex in a bit.
I don't know if that would be old sperm. You don't want that. You only want the fresh.
Yeah, you look like you've gotten laid a lot. You're a frat bro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, all frat bros get laid all the time. That is a guarantee. Wink.
So apparently, Silicon Valley startup called Sperm Racing is to allow the most exhausted men in the U.S. to finally brag about the speed of their sperm. This is the line from a Vice magazine. On a microscopic course engineered to mimic the human reproductive system, complete with chemical cues and tiny fluid currents, not curtains.
Tiny fluid curtains, you heard him.
Sperm will compete in head-to-head battles for microscopic glory. Every wiggle and thrust will be captured in high definition and is shouted about by commentators like it's the Monaco Grand Prix if it were kick-started by an orgasm.
Every wiggle and what?
Every wiggle and thrust.
Why? Why is it called that? Why would they call it that?
There will be press conferences, instant replay, weigh-ins. I have no idea what they'll be weighing. Balls pre and post release?
What does that even mean?
I hope not. But the inaugural race is in LA against USC and UCLA to determine which college has the fastest cum or whatever.
Oh, why you gotta say it like that?
That's what it's written in the article.
Don't read it then.
Okay.
Don't read it.
But it's apparently being hosted by millionaires.
Of course it is. I mean, that's no different than normal sports. They're all hosted by millionaires. Billionaires, actually.
The reason colleges are doing it and stuff like that, they're making it a focus on reproductive health and reproductive education.
I'm sure.
And the only thing is they're deciding it's a sport because gambling's happening on it and it's a race. By the definitions of sport, it kind of fits all the categories.
It does.
Doesn't mean we have to like it.
Yeah. Okay. I can't really protest against it, but yeah.
The only thing that you could protest against it is the fact that it is not officially human v human. It's really sperm cell versus sperm cell.
Yeah.
So it's a cellular level competition.
Yeah.
It seems interesting. I wonder what it's being broadcast on.
I don't know, and I won't find out, but all you freaks listening/watching at home sure will.
And those of you that are listening that are in college or excited about it, maybe you too can enter this contest. If you would so choose.
If you would so choose, indeed.
That is officially the last of the news.
And there we have it.
Ending on a high note. Some joy, happy. Anyway, it's a terrible joke. Ending with climax.
Oh, that was a joke? Oh, okay. I was like, yeah, sure.
The joke was they were ending because orgasm is sperm. Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to go to the Reddit, reddit.com/r/gmfst. Make sure you use the proper flair. You can accuse us. If we didn't talk about sperm correctly, go ahead and yell at us, I guess.
Oh, we didn't pronounce it right. It's called
it's
SPERM.
SPERM. Yeah. If you want to get your hands on some merch, we're almost completely sold out of all the stuff, so new stuff might be coming soon. Store.gmfst.com. Go check it out. Go buy it. Get your shirt on. I think there's only a few of these left, so.
There you have it.
Mark, any last notes, anecdotes?
No, I don't. I got all of it out. I have no idea what else left to say.
You could yell. I don't know. Whatever fits your fancy.
My fancy's fit. My fancy, all done.
Perfect. Well, we'll see you, I guess, next time an episode airs.
Yeah.
Bye.